Hello dear students, today we are going to discuss a very important topic of the CAT exam syllabus, which is paragraph summary. Now, CAT para summary has now become a necessary section, a very important and necessary section of the CAT exam. Right. Earlier, students who were particularly weak in the RC section, that stands for reading comprehension, used to skip this topic because of the fear of negative marking. Right. But students, no one can no longer afford to miss this topic, as paragraph summary counts up to a promise of 10 marks. Now, 10 marks is a big number, right? That counts up to the 20% of the cutoff of the CAT exam. That means that if you attempt this section and you score 10 marks, then you will clear up the total of 20% of the cutoff of the CAT exam. Hence, you cannot skip this section, right? So in this video, I am going to teach you some tips and tricks to solve paragraph summary questions in the CAT exam so that you can score all 10 marks in your exam and clear your exam with high scores. Okay, let us start with the video. Alright students, now let us jump on to the core meaning of paragraph summary. What is paragraph summary? The paragraph summary question asks you to choose an option that succinctly captures the essence of the paragraph, which is usually about 100 to 150 words. The paragraph is followed by 4 options. Okay, that means that you will be given 4 options and you have to choose one option that signifies the complete meaning of the paragraph, right? This option would be your answer. I hope you're clear with the format and what paragraph summary actually means, right? Now that we know the meaning and format to attempt para summary questions, let us solve a question from this topic just on the basis of our understanding. Okay, the passage given below is followed by 4 options. Choose the option that best captures the author's position. Let's start with the paragraph. To me, a classic means precisely the opposite of what my predecessors understood. A work is classical by reason of its resistance to contemporaneity and supposed universality, by reason of its capacity to indicate human particularity and difference in that past epoch. Now, from this line to this line, I can see that the author is talking about what classic actually means to him, right? Which is a contradiction to what his predecessors understood classic meant, right? Okay, let's read further. The classic is not what tells me about shared humanity, or more truthfully put, what lets me recognize myself as already present in the past, what nourishes in me the illusion that everything has been like me and has existed only to prepare the way for me. Instead, the classic is okay. Now, from this line to this line, I can see that the author is talking about what classic does not mean. Why to this line? Because when I read the line of instead the classic is what gives access, I can see that the author is now changing into a new fact, right? So, from this line to this line, the author is talking about what classic does not mean. Earlier he was talking about what classic meant, right? Now he is talking about what classic does not mean. He says that classic is not what tells me about shared humanity. Okay, so he is telling us what classic does not mean according to him. Okay, let's read further. Instead, the classic is what gives access to radically different forms of human consciousness for any given generation of readers, and thereby expands for them the range of possibilities of what it means to be a human being. Okay, now from this line to this line, I can see that the author is now again talking about what classic means to him. Right. So in this whole paragraph, I can see that the author is focusing on what is the meaning of classic. Right. So statements coinciding with the correct meaning of classic should be present in my summary. Right. Okay. So let's read the options then. Option 1. A classic is able to focus on the contemporary human condition and a unified experience of human consciousness. Now, in this statement, I can pick out the phrase unified experience of human consciousness. Okay, which is opposite to what is written in the third line of the paragraph. Right. In the third line, they're talking about the classic is not what tells me about shared humanity. The classic is not what tells me about shared humanity. But in the first statement, they're saying that a classic is able to focus on the contemporary human condition and a unified experience of human consciousness. Okay, unified experience and shared humanity of human consciousness, same meaning, right? So this is a contradiction. That means this cannot be my summary. Option 2. A classical work seeks to resist particularity and temporal difference even as it focuses on common humanity. Now in this statement, I can again pick out the phrase that it focuses on common humanity. Common humanity. Again, common humanity, shared humanity, similar meaning. Contradiction to the third statement of the paragraph again cannot be my summary. Option 3. Okay. A classic is a work exploring the new, going beyond the universal, the contemporary, and the notion of unified human consciousness. Now in the statement, I can see that they're talking about classic going beyond universal, the contemporary, and the notion of unified human consciousness. Something is going beyond, and that something is classic, right? So this statement actually matches with the first 4 lines of the paragraph. 1, 2, 3, 4. Up to here, the author is talking about that classic actually means going beyond the universal. Right, it shows resistance to contemporaneity and universality. Right, contemporaneity and universality, and the notion of unified human consciousness. Unified human consciousness, that means shared humanity. Okay, so this statement is matching with the first 4 lines of the paragraph. That means this can be my summary, but I'm not yet sure as I have to check the 4th option. Okay. A classic is a work that provides access to a universal experience of the human race as opposed to radically different forms of human consciousness. Now in the statement, I can clearly pick out the phrase opposed to radically different forms. Opposed to radically different forms of human consciousness. We're talking about something opposing something, right? Which is clearly contradicting the very third last line of the paragraph, stating the classic is not what gives me access to radically different forms of consciousness. Right? Classic is what gives access. It gives access. And in the 4th option, they're saying that classic is opposing radically different forms, whereas in the third last line, they're saying that it is giving access to the radically different forms. So this is again a contradiction. That means it cannot be my summary. Hence, the answer to this para summary question is option 3. Right? Now you can see that it took us a lot of time and effort to solve this para summary question, but in the exam we will not have this much of time. So in this video, I'm going to teach you some tips and tricks to solve para summary questions in just a few seconds. Alright students, now let us start with how to approach paragraph summary questions. Now there are 4 approaches to follow. Okay, let's start with the first one. Read the paragraph carefully. You must try to understand the paragraph. Okay. If you have not understood the paragraph, the chances are that you would not be able to pick the right summary. So the first step should be understanding the paragraph carefully on your own. Okay. Read the paragraph multiple times and understand what the paragraph is talking about. Okay. Second approach is pick the subject matter of the passage. Now, once you've understood the passage, you must try to pick the subject matter of the passage that talks about the core of the passage. The core basically signifies the major objective that the paragraph carries. Okay, you must try to look for important nouns in the passage, and connect these nouns in such a way that you create a logical relationship with these nouns. Okay, so identify the core of the passage and identify the nouns of the passage and connect them in such a way that they form a logical relationship. Okay, approach 3, compare options logically. With this logical link between the nouns, you must start comparing the options. Now you have a logical link, right? Now when you're looking at options, you must compare these options logically. Option comparison is a very important step. Okay, the right option must not have anything apart from what is given in the passage. That means no new fact should be there in the option. Nothing new should be introduced. Right, the right option must not distort information. That means it should not have wrong information or rip apart the information which is in the paragraph. Okay, and lastly, the right option must not leave out any critical information. It should have all the important facts. Usually the options distort information or add something that is not given in the paragraph, so you'll be able to identify which option is wrong and which is right. Okay, fourth approach, work on the elimination process. Now, you must look for differences between the options. Okay, look for differences between the options. The point of difference should be evaluated. You should see if the passage has any hint that helps you understand which option is better and which is not. So you should look for differences and you should look for hints in the paragraph that will help you identify which option is your answer. Discard out the options that you feel have flaws in them. Okay, discard out the options that you feel are flawing the whole paragraph. Okay, fifth approach, mark focus. What does this mean? Focus means that you have to concentrate. Now, if two options are very close, you should mark the one that maintains focus. The essence is more important than the less valuable information. So you should focus on the essence rather than focusing on the less valuable information provided in the paragraph. Two options might be equally true, but one will talk about the essence while the other will focus on insignificant details. Okay, so you only have to focus on the essence, which is again the major objective of the paragraph. Okay, the last approach to follow is convince yourself and then choose your answer. It is very important to follow all these approaches and then choose your answer only when you are convinced. Okay, now let us step into the most interesting part of the video, which is tips and tricks to solve para-summary questions. These tips and tricks will help you to solve para-summary questions much more efficiently. Now, I am going to teach you 4 tips and tricks in this video. If you want more information about this topic, you can check out the Eduriv app. Okay, follow these tips and tricks along with the approaches that I told you to achieve desired results in your CAT exam. Let's start with the first tip, pre-thinking. Okay, so the first trick is to pre-think your summary before you choose your answer. The second is by working on your vocabulary, followed by enhancing your evaluation skills, and lastly, by gaining the ability to summarize well. Now let us discuss these tips and tricks in detail for a better understanding. Alright, the first trick is pre-thinking. Now, before you jump on the options listed in your question, try to frame your own summary. Okay. When you're reading the paragraph, your vision should be clear as to what should be present in your summary and what should be discarded out. Then match this summary with the options that are listed into your question. When you will match this summary with the options that are listed in the question, you will be able to identify one option that will suit this summary the most. That option will be your answer. The second trick deals with vocabulary. Vocabulary is the common aspect in all these questions in the VARC section, that stands for Verbal Ability Reading Comprehension. Now, the broader your vocabulary, right, the most accurate would be your answer. So that means that you will have to work upon your vocabulary to identify the synonyms and antonyms of all those words that are listed in the paragraph. Okay. Next trick deals with evaluation skills. Now, this is a very important trick. The options for the answer to a para summary question can be tricky and confusing. Most of them may seem right to you. So you need to have an eye for the right option. Right? You can find out an option that is quite similar to your summary. Okay. Find out the option that is similar to your summary. If you're still unable to choose the right option, use the elimination strategy. As we discussed this strategy in the approaches that I told you about, use this strategy and you will be able to discard out the options that are not necessary in the paragraph. Okay. The last trick deals with ability to summarize well. Now, your task is to recognize the central theme of the passage. Right. Now, the central theme represents the core or the major objective, as we discussed before, of the paragraph. Remember, the summary of the paragraph should contain all the key facts that are listed in the paragraph. Okay, the summary should always have the key facts of the paragraph listed up. Okay, in a proper chronological order. Now, all these facts should be in a chronological order, should be in a sequence for them to make sense. Right? Just opt out the irrelevant information in the paragraph and select the necessary key facts and arrange those key facts in a chronological order. Also, the summary should be precise. The summary should be short. Okay, and there should be no abruptness of any sentence in the summary. That means that no sentence should suddenly pop up in your summary, right? There should be no abruptness. There should be a particular chronological order that should be followed in your summary. Okay. Alright students, now that I've taught you all the tips and tricks and the approaches to carry out when attempting para summary questions, let us attempt a real previous year CAT question from the year 2020. Let's start with the paragraph. For nearly a century, most psychologists have embraced one view of intelligence. Now they're talking about one view of intelligence. What is that view? Individuals are born with more or less intelligence potential, that is IQ. This potential is heavily influenced by heredity and is difficult to alter. Experts in measurement can determine a person's intelligence early in life, currently from paper and pencil measures, perhaps eventually from examining the brain in action or even scrutinizing his or her genome. Okay. Now, from this line to this line, I can see that the author is talking about one view of intelligence, that is IQ. Right. Now, this IQ is heavily influenced by one factor, which is heredity, and heredity is difficult to alter. It is not impossible. You can still alter heredity, but it is difficult to alter. Okay. Furthermore, he is saying that experts are currently determining a person's IQ early in life from paper and pencil measures, but in the future they're planning to examine the IQ while the brain is in action or by scrutinizing the genome in the DNA. Okay. Next, recently criticism of this conventional wisdom has mounted. This signifies that a new fact will be introduced in the new line, which will talk about criticism. Okay, let's read further. Biologists ask, this is the criticism, if speaking of a single entity called intelligence is coherent and question the validity of measures used to estimate heritability of a trait in humans who, unlike plants or animals, are not conceived and bred under controlled conditions. Now, from this line to this line, I can see that the author is talking about a criticism, right, that has been recently mounted, in which biologists are questioning whether intelligence is a single entity, and they are questioning the validity of the measures that are taken to estimate heritability. Now, what is heritability? Heritability is the amount in which the measures are the amount in which a gene is inherited by a progeny, by a person, right? That means that biologists are questioning in what amount a gene is inherited by a progeny. They are questioning the validity of the measures that are taken regarding the heritability concept. That means they are questioning how is a gene transferred into a person, and that method is being questioned by the biologists, right? Whether that method is right or that method is wrong. Okay, so let's start with the options then. But before we start, we should have our own summary according to the tricks that I told you about. So according to me, my summary should contain all the key facts, right? So the key facts should be intelligence potential, heredity, the criticism that was mounted, right? The criticism is the major objective of the paragraph according to me. Okay, the criticism talks about whether intelligence is a single entity and the validity of the measures. So these keywords should be present in my summary. Now, again, before you start, it is very important that you match all of the options with your summary. Read all of the options and then check which option suitably identifies your summary. Okay, starting with the first option. Biologists have questioned the long-standing view that intelligence is a single entity, one keyword, and the attempts to estimate its heritability. Another keyword is also present. Now, it is right. In the whole paragraph, if I check out the gist, the summary of the paragraph, the author is talking about a criticism, a new approach that is being introduced in the paragraph, that is talking about the long-standing view of whether intelligence is a single entity or whether the measures that are being taken to estimate heritability are right or not, right? So this statement can clearly identify my summary, but yet again I have to check all the three other options, so I will put this statement on hold. Okay, option B. Biologists have questioned the view that intelligence is a single entity. Again, similar to the first option, and the ways in which what is inherited. Now, the ways in which what is inherited. Whereas in the second last line of the paragraph, the author is talking about the measures that are taken, the validity of the measures that are taken to estimate how the gene is transferred. They're not questioning how the gene is transferred, they are questioning the measures that estimate how the gene is transferred. There is a difference, right? So the second half of this statement is wrong, so this cannot be my summary, right? Option C. Biologists have questioned or have criticized, that conventional wisdom that individuals are born with more or less intelligence potential. Okay, now this statement is correct. This is not wrong. This statement signifies the first two lines of the paragraph. Okay, but I know that my major crux, the major summary of the paragraph is present here in the last three lines of the paragraph, right? So this is not clarifying the major objective, the essence of the paragraph. So this cannot be my summary. Option D. Biologists have started questioning psychologists' view of intelligence as a measurable, immutable characteristic of an individual. Now look at the word immutable, which means impossible to modify, impossible to alter. Now if you check out the second line of the paragraph, they have written that intelligence is difficult to alter. It is not impossible. It is not immutable. It is difficult to alter. So there is a modification that has been done of the word difficult, and it has been changed into the word immutable in option D. So a new fact or a modification cannot be done in the summary of the paragraph. So that means that option D cannot be my answer. This implies that the answer to this para-summary question is answer A. Now students, it is important to practice more to attempt para-summary questions with accuracy. So let us attempt another previous year question of CAT 2020 again. Okay, let's start with the paragraph. All humans make decisions based on one or combination of two factors. So I know that they're going to talk about two factors now. This is either intuition, one factor, or information, the other factor. Decisions made through intuition. Okay, so up till this line, from this line, they are talking about two factors. There is an introduction about two factors. Okay, now from this line, decisions made through intuition are usually fast. People don't even think about the problem. It is quite philosophical, meaning that someone who made a decision based on intuition will have difficulty explaining the reason behind it. The decision maker, keyword, would often utilize her senses in drawing conclusions, which again is based on some experience in the field of study. On the other side, okay, so I know that from this line to this line, the author is talking about one factor, which is intuition, right? He's explaining one factor, which is intuition, and he's talking about another keyword, which is decision maker. Now, decision maker is a person who makes a decision, right? So, reading further, on the other side of the spectrum, that means now he's going to talk about the other factor, which is information. We have decisions made based upon information. These decisions are rational. It is based on facts and figures, which unfortunately also means that it can be quite slow. The decision maker would frequently use reports, analysis, and indicators to form her conclusion. This methodology results in accurate, quantifiable decisions, meaning that a person can clearly explain the rationale behind it. Rationale is another keyword, which means the objective. Rationale means objective. What is the goal behind making the decision? Okay, so creating my own summary first. I know that my summary should have the key facts listing two factors, first being intuition and information, Both the facts should be listed in my summary. Secondly, the decision maker should be introduced in my summary. Thirdly, what is the objective? What is the rationale behind the decision making process? That should also be listed up in my summary. Okay, so let's check out the options and see what option suits our summary the best. Starting with option A, while decisions based on intuition can be made fast, the reasons that led to these cannot be spelled out. Okay, so in this option, they're talking about decision based upon intuition, but the decision based upon information is not listed here. And what is the goal? What is the rationale behind the decision making process? That is also not being listed here. So this is not explaining all of the key facts, all of the major facts in my paragraph. That means this cannot be my summary. Option B, we make decisions based on intuition or information. Both the keywords are listed on the basis of time available. Okay, now in this statement, I can again not see what is the rationale behind, what is the objective behind the decision making process. They're talking about decisions based on intuition and decisions based on information. Up till here it is correct. But when they're talking about time available, this is not a very necessary fact, right? The necessary fact is what is the rationale, what is the objective of the decision making process. That is not written here. That means this is again not my summary. Option C, it is better to make decisions based on information because it is more accurate and the rationale behind it can be explained. Now, two of the major keywords, information and rationale, are listed here. Right, but they're not talking about intuition now. In the option A, they were talking about intuition and they were not talking about information. Whereas in option C, they're talking about information and they're not talking about intuition. So incomplete information in the summary cannot be correct, right? So this cannot be my summary. Option D, decisions based on intuition and information, both the keywords, result in differential speed and ability to provide a rationale, the objective. So all of the major keywords are listed up in my statement D, in option D. That means this is my answer. That means option D is my answer. Now students, the question that we're going to discuss is different from the other questions that we discussed. Okay, let's read the paragraph. The dominant hypothesis in modern science believes that language, keyword, evolved to allow humans to exchange factual information about the physical world. But an alternative view is that language evolved in modern humans at least to facilitate social bonding. Now, from this line to this line, the author is talking about a keyword which is language that evolved to allow humans to exchange factual information, to exchange facts, right? But there is another view about this hypothesis that states that language evolved to facilitate social bonding so that people can interact with each other. Okay, now moving on, it increased our ancestors' chances of survival, another keyword, by enabling them to hunt more successfully or to cooperate more extensively. Language meant that things could be explained and that plans and past experiences could be shared efficiently. Now, I see that in the whole paragraph, if I have to create my own summary, I would list up facts like language. What does language do? Language helps, it allows humans to exchange factual information, to socially bond with each other, to survive and to cooperate. These facts should be listed up in my summary. So I will now look at all of the options and I will see which option best matches with my summary. Starting with option A. From the belief that humans invented language to process factual information, scholars now think that language was the outcome of need to ensure social cohesion. Social cohesion is another word, a synonym of social bonding. That is why I told you to understand vocabulary, right? Now a synonym has been introduced of social bonding, which is social cohesion. and thus human survival. So, one keyword, second keyword, third keyword, but cooperation is not present. The fourth keyword is not present. Also, a modification has been done. If you check out the first line of the paragraph, it says language evolved. Did not invent, humans did not invent the language, they evolved the language, right? So modification and alteration has been done. That means it cannot be my summary. Okay, option B. Most believe that language originated from a need to articulate facts, but others think it emerged from the need to promote social cohesion and cooperation, thus enabling human survival. Now, all of the important facts are listed. All of the important 4 facts are listed in this statement. That means this can be my summary, but yet again, I have to check the rest 2 options. Option C. Since its origin, language has been continuously evolving to higher forms. Okay. From being used to identify objects to ensuring human survival, one keyword, by enabling our ancestors to bond and cooperate. 3 keywords are here. The 4th one, which is factual information or facts, is not present in the statement. Again, a modification has been made, evolving to higher forms. Now, this phrase is listed nowhere in the paragraph. That means a new fact has been introduced in the summary, right? This cannot happen. That means option C cannot be my summary. Option D. Experts, okay, are challenging the narrow view of the origin of language as being merely used to describe facts and label objects, one keyword, to being necessary to promote more complex interactions among humans. Now, complex interactions is another synonym of the word social bonding. So, you see 2 synonyms of the word social bonding have been introduced: social cohesion and complex interactions, right? So that means you have to work upon your vocabulary to understand these words. But again, if I read this statement again with a narrow perspective, I would be able to identify words like experts and narrow view. Now, experts is a word which is listed up nowhere in the whole paragraph. You cannot find out the word experts in the whole paragraph. No one is talking about experts here. So again, a new fact has been listed. Already it cannot be my summary. Also, it is missing out 2 major facts, which are survival and cooperation. So again, it cannot be my summary. Another thing, another new fact, another modification has been made: narrow view. Now, if you check out the second line of the paragraph, you will see that the author is talking about an alternative view. He's not talking about a narrow view. What is the difference? Alternative means different but equal, right? Whereas narrow means one is thin and the other is wider than the previous one. That is narrow, right? Whereas alternative means different but equal. So another modification has been made that has changed the meaning of the whole sentence. That means option D can also not be my summary. This implies that the answer to this question is answer B. Now you understand why this question was different from the rest of the questions that we solved? Alright. Okay students, I hope you people have now understood how to crack para summary questions in your CAT exam. Much more content about this topic is uploaded on the Edureve app. You can check out the CAT course here and enter the verbal ability and reading comprehension section, scroll down and see paragraph summary. You can unlock the locked videos, documents and test series of the CAT course series with the Edureve Infinity plan and ace your exam in less than 80 rupees a month. Thank you.